Hello guys, welcome to CloudRaga. So in previous videos, from last 10 videos, we were trying to understand what is Maven project, how to configure Maven, then how to configure Maven for Hibernate. But we have not even discussed about what is Hibernate. Yeah, that's kind of funny, but that's fine. Why? Because if I first if I say that Hibernate is a ORM tool, so that won't make any sense. But today we are at the point where we are able to see our Java object, this Java object, into database as a table, and the contents or the fields of Java values are going to be stored as a column like id, data, and public. So what's just happening around? Why we are using this Hibernate tool? All these questions are given here. So Hibernate is an ORM tool. ORM stands for Object Relation Mapping. So when we say Hibernate, that means it's just a software which helps us to ease out some database stuffs where we have to do or spend lots of energy and like coding wise, or you can remove lots of boilerplate code as well. But as we are using Hibernate, so it do lots of simple things. Hibernate uses JDBC internally. Yep. So whatever you're doing internally, it uses database. That's how we saw that insert query was generated earlier. It was create query. So all these are JDBC queries. So Hibernate uses them internally. What Hibernate do? It implements JPA. What is JPA? It stands for Java Persistence API, and this is all about annotations. So we have seen entity and ID annotation, and we have discussed about it, how to convert our Pojo class to entity class. We have seen this in previous video. If you have not done, please refer my previous videos on Hibernate. Then the Sun microsystem given a standard to persisting Java object, that SMS stand for Sun microsystem, who developed this core Java initially. So they have given some standard to persist. To persist means save. Persist or save both are equal. So the idea was to save your Java object into database. So what they did, they said, okay, we are going to create a specification or a standard, that is JPA. So any language, any framework which says that I am ORM, so they have to implement all the features. So that's why I created this image which says JPA, you can treat this as an interface and Hibernate as a Java class. So if you want to implement the fully fledged features, so you need to implement all the features from JPA. So ultimately Hibernate implements JPA feature. That's what it says. And when it comes to configuration, you need to do some kind of configuration inside XML files. So yeah, we have used hibernate.cfg.xml file in our project. Yeah, it was there, right there inside src main resource. There it is. Okay, then we talked about how to move or save our Java object into database. For that, we can see Hibernate converts all these things on the fly. At runtime, it do this and generates SQL queries automatically. Yep, we have not written a single SQL query. It was auto-generated by whom? By the Hibernate itself. Okay, so what is ORM again? It's a relation mapping tool. What does it do? It provides a bridge. It provides or act as a layer that connects your object-oriented programming. Java is an object-oriented programming. So it connects object-oriented programming to relational databases like MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL. These are some examples for relational database. In short, we call them RDBMS. So if you want to connect your Java code with database without writing that much SQL queries, so Hibernate is one of the best tool out there. And we are learning 5.x version. So the term says ORM, object relation mapping. So object is a Java thing. Yep, object is Java. Relational, it's a database thing. And finally mapping. So mapping object with database thing. That's what Hibernate do. And these are some terms which is quite oftenly used when you are writing the code. And when you know, this is just a starting. We have to cover lots of topic in Hibernate. You can see my first or second video where I have explained the topics. That's a huge list. So it's just a starting. And now we know how things works. So you can refer again the steps we have done. Let's just revise. So first of all, you have to create a Maven project, and the idea was to convert or configure that Maven project as per Hibernate requirement. So first step was add the libraries. So we did that by adding one library for Hibernate and second library for MySQL database, because that's the database we are going to use. In second step, we saw a entity class, a Pojo class which acts as a simple Pojo class which has private field and public getter setter. That's a Pojo class, plain old Java object. Then we have to convert that into an entity class. Without it, you cannot use it. So to convert that pojo to entity, you have like follow two rules. First of all, mark that class as an entity, and then use primary key annotation, that is at id. Then your pojo class becomes an entity. So what's the output once you do this? Eclipse will look like this. Okay, so that's the outcome, and it's saved. In next step, we did configuration for Hibernate, that is configuration file. Of course, it's not discussed yet. We will discuss it upcoming classes, but for now, you just have to follow along, have this configuration in your file, in your project, and that will done. But don't forget, once your entity class is done, make sure you are registering that entity file inside this configuration file right there under mapping tag. Okay, that's the third step. In fourth step, we created a utility class. This is the utility class which we have used to generate session factory object, and that is required, otherwise we cannot even start. That gives us a heads up, and we have not discussed about this class. Of course, in upcoming classes we will discuss about this class as well, but for now, just for starting things up, we have copied this class from my previous resources. This was fourth step. In fifth step, that's the final step where you actually do the operation by using the session factory. So obtain session factory, then obtain session object from it, then starts a database transaction, then create your object entity, entity object, and then save that object and flush things and close all the connection. These are steps you have to do so your object gets saved in database. So if you have to visualize it, you can take it like on left side of this whole thing, you have this vehicle class, right? So this is our vehicle class, and let's move this. Let's make it simple, like we did here in our class. Okay. This is a class. Then you can treat this Hibernate is acting as a middleware. This is a Hibernate ORM, and on right section we have mysql. Okay, so what we did, we sent our database object from here, from left to right. Okay, and then this object get passed to the database. So from here we are sending this way. From tester I can take this code that we are sending this much information. Let me small the size. Yep, that's what you have to do to send the object. Okay, that's done. Once you send these details and call session.saveVehicle, so Hibernate will do what? It will try to convert your contents into table. So what's the impact? So we can open database. This is the impact. The end result is you will get this table structure, and the table name would be vehicle. So whatever the name of your class is, your entity class is, it becomes your table name, right? So the name on left side, that's a class name, becomes the table name, and the ID, type, and model becomes the column name for the table. That's right here. So that's the purpose of using Hibernate. I hope it's making sense. If it's not, you guys can follow along the previous videos again, so you can see the steps what we did to achieve this thing in a working state. That's it for this video, guys. Let's meet in the next session and we'll continue the Hibernate topics again. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Bye bye.